Hey, what's up guys, this is Oakley and we're back to playing Napoleon Total War, still keeping it in the age of the musket. So this is going to be on Arcole. I will go ahead and blow the map up for you. So it's a big map with two small towns and a lot of marshy swampland with just several key crossings. So it's going to be a lot about controlling the choke points. So my build is going to be playing as France, and what I've decided to do is go kind of with the sneaky tactics over here. I've deployed two chasseurs à cheval. They're already taking off. We'll catch up with them soon. One Polish Legion here upgraded, and the entirety of this force is actually hidden. So two Chasseurs, three National Guard, and then two Old Guard. The rest of my force is going to be deployed over here. I have two more National Guard, one more Old Guard, a couple Fusiliers of the line, and a couple more Chasseurs. And my general is going to be moving up with them. But basically my main impression was to sort of trick my opponents into thinking I was going that way, and then actually deploy on this side with some troops and try and draw him into my hidden forces back there. But I love these French chasseurs à cheval. They are so effective, especially at this map. We'll take a look at this. I can just get a couple of volleys off at his men and just draw back. Now you have to be very good with your micro and timing, because you'll take a look at this and see just how close it comes. How you have to tell him to retreat, because that gap was just a couple feet before he would have been able to catch me. And here, again, just a couple inches away, and that must be infuriating for him. But these guys are pretty light, mobile, and swift cavalry. However, when you do tell them to shoot and then you tell them to run away, look at this, they have to stop and turn around, so it's a little hard to do that, and there's a brief instance where the opponent can't catch up to you. That's why I have two of them. One can retreat, the other can sort of ward off the opponents, and slowly but surely I'm drawing them back. Now I am moving up this Polish Legion, and I'm giving my opponent the impression that that's the only unit that I have right now on this side of the battlefield as well. So I'm revealing that hand, and I'm going to chase his forces back because he knows I can rally behind them. Let's put this on slow motion real quick, and we'll go ahead and take a look at what's going on the other side of the battlefield. So over here, I'm going to move my guys across. I'm telling them to go here. Soon I'm going to deploy them here just to block the flank of my ally. He is Austria. He's moving forward with one giant wing here, another giant wing here. I guess he's going to try and ford the crossing here and fight the British on their own terrain there. Although what you'll see later on is a standstill will develop across this main bridge. So the main engagement is going to be occurring over on my side. What just happened over here is I was able to charge in, land another volley on his hussars, so I've effectively routed those guys. They still have 26 men, so they may be coming back in the future, but it's effectively routed. And for the price of nothing. So that's why I love these guys. If you have the micro to spare, these guys can really tear up enemy cavalry force. But you have to have the right composition. I couldn't be doing this baiting and kiting if I didn't have some sort of infantry block to fall back on, because you know, after a couple of volleys he would just keep chasing me. So at least I have this hard unit, this rock essentially to focus behind, because once he chases me, he has none of these skirmisher cav himself, so he has to go into melee, which means I basically could fall back to a square, pull through behind it, and then reform, and he won't be able to pull through the square effectively. Again, pulling off this retreat just at the last second, this guy decides to stick it. He may die for his foolery. Yep, there you go. So I lost my first cavalry unit, and I'm going to be deploying these guys, getting closer and closer. I can feel that the momentum is starting to swing against me, and he probably feels the same way, because he's like, alright, I finally have my infantry here. So what I'm going to do is pretty soon pull my forces back here, and he's going to be falling right into this trap of the Chasseurs, National Guard, and then two Old Guard. So this is a new build I've been trying to deploy, is using actually 5 of these National Guard in my army. They're pretty good because they're cheap, they have decent, you know, volley fire, and they have pretty good morale when compared to normal militia. France has the advantage of having National Guard, which are like beefy militia, which allows me to have a huge French army for nothing. And then what I do is I go ahead and plug the skill gap with these Old Guards. So I was able to field 3 of these Old Guard, and I believe a young guard over there, or at least a Polish Legion. So that allows me to have a mix of pretty crappy troops and very elite troops, which is good for battles like this when the National Guard can soak up the enemy fire. Anyways, here we go. I'm continuing to just poke, play with my opponent, dodging in and out. And the rest of the battlefield we can see right here at the, I guess if we want to call that the north end of the battlefield, over by my ally. He's kind of camped up by the bridge, and that's where it's going to turn into a stalemate. Over here, my opponent decides to charge forward. For him, I would have just retreated all his troops and just waited behind his is Silesian I can never pronounce these. Silesian Schützen. He should have just allowed those guys to push forward. They have very high range, but the problem with these is he's been rushing them up, so this entire force is going to be very tired, which is perfect for when I have my hidden forces that are going to get revealed eventually. Anyways, soon I'll be doing my all-out retreat. I was contemplating charging these guys, kind of sacrificing one of my units, but I decided against it because I know that there's no point sacrificing that just yet, because I do run the chance of being able to kill these guys with my trap. So I'm going to allow them to sort of think that, okay, they've won the day. Basically, this is all he sees on his screen right now, is this small force in all-out retreat, and then he sees my big clump force over here that he probably wants to go ahead and attack. So you can already see him deploying some of his forces, the Prussian player, over on this side. So he's thinking, okay, I'm going to go ahead and wedge this French force here and sort of recuperate my losses, because I'll be able to undo these guys over here. And yeah, you can see he's pouring all his forces against the bridge, and he's angry at me for what I was doing earlier with my cavalry. But I'm not quite done with him yet. I'm going to retreat back here, and then I'll, turn these Chasseurs Cheval, I'm pretty sure, turn them around one more time, and I'm thinking about doing an about face and attacking these units. But you guys will see this trap be sprung pretty soon. I'm going back over here to micro. I don't want my guys just in any formation. Originally I had just told them to move out here in big blobs. But right here I'm going to go ahead and reform these in a big wide arc. But these chasseurs with 120 men are definitely getting a ton of kills on his dudes as they deploy. So already killed like 20 of his men. Yeah, those guys are dropping really quickly. So I'm getting a lot of shots. And that's the problem with this map, is the choke points. You kind of have to cross and bite the bullet, quite literally. Next up, what I'm going to do is position a wide U right here. And what I'm going to decide to do is actually put my chasseurs in the front, then put my National Guard, and then retreat all my old guard and elite units back there. So do those one by one. Now let's go ahead and watch this. So here he goes. He thinks he has me. These guys are foolishly getting too far ahead of themselves, and now you're going to see the trap be sprung. So they're presenting their flanks to me right here, and it looks like he just realized his mistake, but they're tired, so these guys are not going to be able to run quite quick enough. Same over here. I do an about face. I'm going to go ahead and run back. So volleys and volleys and volleys into the Schützen. Let's watch another one of these volleys get off. Boom. So there, I was saying I wanted to maybe sacrifice a cav unit to take those out. Nope, no need. I can already take them out because of my trap. And then in the back I have these National Guard. Over here I do go ahead and charge one more time. Probably got a bit too far ahead of myself. And what the game does is actually, if cavalry are pretty close to you, it'll kind of force some of your units to stay back. So it's kind of an interesting trade-off mechanism. But I pull them back to the Polish Legion and again get more shots off on his retreating cav. Some more of them are trying to get around my side, but I'm just going to get mass volleys against these guys. So all his cav advantage, he probably had 5-6 cavalry units in this front, all for naught. So I was able to whittle them down there. And I'm going to be moving up these National Guard to exchange, and then I have 2 Old Guard in the back. Let's go ahead and put this on slow motion real quick, get back to this battle. So the initial exchanges were had. I basically destroyed most of his units. He pushed up and then I pulled back. So these chasseurs took a lot of the brunt of the fighting. These 2 chasseurs are doing a little better, but as I said, I'm putting my National Guard up there. They're going to soak up the fire, and then I'm deploying my general. He's going to be pulled back here. And then I have Fusilier of the line, and then well out of the range of fire, I'm going to have my Old Guard. Over on this front, it's going to be a pretty wide engagement. The British are moving up, which is 2 units, horse guards, who should probably be able to storm through here if he doesn't form into square, and then some more of these rifles who will start picking off his forces. But overall, I'd say it's probably going to go, especially with all these cav, it's probably going to go to the Austrian player. Getting some more shots off. What he's going to decide to do is actually move forward with the entirety of this force. So he outnumbers me just here, but I do have these 2 units in reserve, and especially with my long range guys, they're not going to be taking much fire. But take a look at this. Look at these shots going past. That's what some people refer to as the beaten zone when it comes to, and I'm going to move my general back, when it comes to these units firing. So whenever you have reserve lines, you want to move them well back behind that beaten zone, probably about this much. At least, these units shouldn't even be here, because any shot that fires is going to needlessly kill your men. So that's why I'm pulling both of my forces back. Just something to be aware of. Let's go ahead and watch this fight over here. So I cleared out his cavalry, and over on this front here, he's just going to be pushing up with his musketeers. He realized that I would be able to pick away at him all day because, well, basically because I had the range advantage. So he's going to head and position himself up there. That's why I'm going to pull up with my National Guard, who are currently hidden once more. And they're going to form up in a massive line and exchange fire with him. Some of the shots are going to be killing my own men, but what I'm going to do is pull these guys ahead. They're going to get off a volley. So there you go. That's the benefit of these National Guard units. You get 160 of them. Very good for meat shield, and they're excellent for these types of engagements. They're going to move up, basically just let off one giant volley, retreat, and then I'm going to replace them with the old guard. And they're going to soak up a lot of fire. So here we go. Boom, getting off an entire volley from the front. And they have pretty decent reload rates. Not the best accuracy or damage, but you know, you can see how they're soaking up a lot of the fire. And they trade nicely against those guys. Anyways, I went and also put a cavalry unit here. Got some shots off there. So that's another benefit of these chasseurs à cheval, is they can go ahead and land these flank shots. Also, these chasseurs are going to be moving up just for more enfilading fire. And I have these guys positioned back here. They're able to shoot over the heads of my men. Let's watch this cavalry shot right here. Right into his flanks. That's going to force him to draw back, although he does have some of these Schutzen still on the hill right there. And I'm going to push up here. I know he has cavalry. I'm like, alright, I can take this. If he wants to charge, well, then he'll have to charge into a square. Moving up with more of my cavalry to support pretty soon, and then I'm going to do an exchange where I send my old guard up here, replace the National Guard. Over on this flank, we have a lot of fire going back and forth between these two players right here. So I moved up my National Guard to the point where they could fire. So this is the only time where you probably want them to be in a position where they can shoot, or be shot, sorry, in that position I was talking about, the beaten zone, where the bullets that miss the initial unit will hit the second. You generally don't want that unless your guys are actively firing. So that's what I'm going to do. Putting up two of my chasseurs, re-engaging them, moving these guys out of the fight. So constantly cycling through weak units, getting off the early volleys against his guys. And one of the nice advantages of this little place we're fighting is actually there's a small hill here. So that means, yep, his additional fire here is not going to be able to kill many of my men. And I'm just going to be able to bide for time. Watch over here. Moved up these chasseurs. They exchanged fire with his musketeers. And because his cav moved out of the way, that's going to allow me to just push up through here in the near future with my cavalry support. Right here, National Guard actually are still deployed. So as he's moving his cavalry up, that's probably the only effective strike he's going to get on my own chasseurs. So a pretty good charge. I'm going to go ahead and engage with him. And that's where I'm going to be deploying my old guard. So seeing his infantry pull up here, I'm going to pull my own guys back. And these chasseurs are definitely paying for themselves. Huge dividends earned from those guys. They're going to move up and they're going to annihilate these lancers. And my chasseurs are still pretty beefy. National Guard are going to pull the retreat. And in their place is going to be the old guard. So he sees that and he's going to tuck tail and run. And here we go. We'll watch some of these old guard get their shots off. So just murderous fire all along the line, and they'll reload very quickly. These chasseurs are still putting on the hurt, so it's only a matter of time before I can finish off this Prussian force. This is the entire army that I had hidden. Keep that in mind. So he didn't know he was tangoing with this. All he saw at first was this force. So that just goes to show the advantage of keeping units hidden in the beginning of the battle. So his overwhelming numbers are finally getting to me. You know, he's taking out my units here. I'm slowly losing more and more. But what's happening right here is I'm sacrificing National Guard, which are only slightly above militia. He's sacrificing foot guards, musketeers, basic line infantry essentially. So I'm getting a very good exchange cost-wise. I'm still holding out on this flank and just getting a ton of kills. And I would say I'm being more effective with my money spent. And I still have basically full health old guard and Fusilier of the line to send in. He thinks that that fight is sort of won, so he's going to send in some reinforcements, or at least people to hold back this front. So he's going to be moving into support. He's going to move in with hussars. This is actually a very good strike. So he's able to chase these guys off. They were already routing, but now he's going to go ahead and turn and basically charge up my entire front. That's how you should engage with cavalry. Disrupt the entire line and then move up with your additional infantry to follow up on that. Now, if his British ally was being more useful. He'd move up these rifles here to help clean up my side. That probably would have turned the tide of the battle. Anyways, I'm going to move up with Fusilier of the line, getting up their volleys. And then right here, my old guard are going to be deployed. They're in a bit of an awkward position, so I think I'm going to redeploy them, although they still can get some decent lines of fire. That's a pretty epic scene right there. I'm going to go ahead and hide the map. So almost a quadruple line going on here. I'm going to pull them back because they weren't doing much. Let's get back on this side of the battle. I moved up with my chasseurs and all my lines. Again, putting the National Guard first. There's no reason to risk my old guard, so I'm pulling them back. They have almost no losses, so very effective use of them. His cavalry are coming in. So he's starting to turn the tide of the battle a bit on this flank. So my old guard and my National Guard are going to be redeploying to help this flank over here. Seeing as he now is swinging his cavalry over here, that's going to present an opportunity for my guys to move right up. So he opened the door up, and I will go ahead and take it just so I can attack his Schweitzen right here. He's trying to redeploy, but I'm going to be there in time to just go ahead and outright charge his men. Over here, he's sending in more and more of his cavalry. National Guard should be enough to do it, and I had one more chasseur unit that's going to be going over here to get some side shots on his men. These guys are getting hit. I didn't quite see that these guys were formed up and ready to fire, so I'm going to be charging into melee pretty soon, chasing those guys down, and more volleys being put on his guys. His cavalry are going to be all but annihilated. Here come the old guard, once again position. And the nice thing about having them sort of retreated and then positioning them is they're always going to be ready with another volley. He's just a vengeful guy. He's trying to get back at my chasseurs. He's tired of them, so he's going to keep chasing them. I'm going to turn these guys about, and we're going to deal with those. But the rest of his reinforcements are going to be coming up, and he decides just at the last moment, nope, this army is doomed. So, bit of a waste. They could have helped out on this front. Where you have seen that he's cracked my first line, and he's just going through towards my old guard. Probably not the best of moves. I wish his British, the Great Britain, had filed in here. He probably could have killed me. The reason I wish that is I just felt bad for this guy at this point, just because I had pulled that trap on him, and over here he's not having a very supportive ally, so that's too bad. But yeah, this unit here, I'm going to deploy my old guard in wider line just to do more damage to him. He formed up in square. He was afraid of my general that was charging in. And I'm going to form up, kind of ignore this enclave of men, and just keep putting the shots off right here. There we go. Old guard, murderous fire at them. Even the officer getting some pistol shots off. He's going to go ahead and form back up into line, but at this point it's probably too late. Once the old guard get going, yeah, there's no real stopping them. So there you go. That destroyed his front here. I'm not sure what happened here. Oh, okay, there we go. This is the army that pushed up through here. However, the British player does have the heel advantage. He lost a lot of men in what would be probably a huge sacrificial charge from Austria. I'm sorry we missed that. Austria lost all his men. And Great Britain is going to be starting to rally, but there is going to be a massive charge up the hill. Let's see if he can hold out against this. And then there's the entirety of the remaining Austrian force right here against Great Britain, who still holds his front, but with the Highland foot, and these troops are tired, he may actually be able to, oh, I don't say may because I've actually played this battle, but he will be able to clean up these forces. They're winded, so he's going to come in with the Highland foot and just massacre these guys. Additionally, charging in with his general, that's going to finish off, actually, surprisingly, the Austrian forces over on this front. And they're having some exchange of the rifles here. As I said before, with the beaten zone, you don't want to put these units back here. You can see the shots that miss are going to go ahead and kill more guys, so just move them back if you don't anticipate using them. Anyways, here are my guys, still reforming. Over on this front, he was lining up at the choke point, trying to hold me back for as long as possible. Prussian Fusiliers have pretty good range. He was chipping away at my cavalry. So what I do is I'm just going to go ahead and pull back all of my forces and just engage with my chasseurs. No need to lose men that you don't have to sacrifice. Exchanges across the river. And basically I'm just going to be putting my skirmishers first and attacking them. Great Britain is still sitting here, and they're just holding me back at this point. Over on this flank, it looks like actually Great Britain is being beaten back. Although this Czech regiment is very tired. So I was maybe in the wrong saying they'd be massacred, but what I know is when I checked back on these guys, Great Britain held the entirety of this side. So that's probably having something to do with the all the reinforcements he's going to be sending into this front to secure this and keep them at bay. What he should be doing right here is probably positioning the additional troops over on this flank and moving against that crossing, because a bridge crossing is not going to do him any good, and he should just keep his Grenzers and some of his units here at a distance. But what Great Britain is doing well is he has his light troops in foliage, and they're going to be cutting these guys apart, and with his reinforcements he'll have enough to foil this assault here, although it was pretty costly on all sides. You can go ahead and watch what's going on my side. A lot of smoke happening right here. Again, positioning the National Guard. These guys are super useful. So covering fire from my chasseurs, Old Guard again in the back, and then these National Guard can probably get point blank range. Some of them on the high ground to get off some volleys, some on the low ground to get volleys under the supporting fire of my guys. Let's push up and watch these guys get their shots off. There you go. So at that point, his guys were knocked out. I sent my chasseurs all the way around this side, and here they are, positioned right here. I'm waiting for the moment where I can finish those guys off, and then I'm going to follow in parallel along the back lines here. And I was thinking of charging back around here and getting behind and sniping the British general, but what I decided to do was actually deploy them right here and help secure my crossing the river side right there. Anyways, Great Britain is reforming with his rifles. He pulled them back out of the distance, and he's going to be forming up with his foot and destroying. These are he should have sent some more sturdy units. These are actually just militia, so this force, I can see them biting the dust pretty soon. He's going to be retaking the ridge, and some of these Grenzers are still alive. However, they probably should not reveal themselves. They're going to die, because yeah, you can see the Highland foot moving in. So Great Britain still has some fight left in them, and Austria is piecemeal deploying some of his units, whereas I would say he should probably bum rush this position, because I'm going to be, what we end up doing is probably a little smarter. We end up waiting for my forces to assault this position. Some of the Prussian units that were retreating from that army loss right there, the massacre, are going to be rallying, so they're reloading, and I'm going to have to deal with them soon. And over here, I'm just biding my time. So let's go ahead and put it on fast forward until something happens. We can watch this battle a little bit on fast forward. There you go. As I said, they were outnumbered, especially with Great Britain redeploying all of her forces. And actually, let's go ahead and put it back on play. So I moved my cavalry. I decided to do this attack. I knew Great Britain would be distracted, so I charged right on through to his foot. Keep note that they're at 160 men. Charged through to them. I was hoping I would be able to break them. They're at 127, so we definitely killed almost 40 men. Yep, there you go. And I should have stayed in that fight, just engaging them. But what I decided to do was try and pull through and engage with his rifles, because what I was trying to do is just disrupt them. So you can see right here, they're not going to be able to shoot. I was trying to do that to allow the entirety of my army to move forward. But when I disengage and pull through, his guys are going to once again start firing. So this is almost going to be the end of my horses. Just yeah, they're getting picked off. So probably should have kept them engaged here and just sent a National Guard in the front. But in any case, this is going to be what's allowing me to move forward. I'm going to position these guys essentially point blank. The only problem at this point is because my cavalry were killed, he's able to just all-out retreat at this point. So I leave these guys, actually going to deploy them right here. I'm trying to pull my cavalry back because I know a volley is incoming. So I'm going to try and save these guys just for sentimental reasons. However, they're going to eat a fistful of this volley. So here they are, trying to get out of the line of fire at the last minute. However, it looks like I'm going to clip a couple of the horses in the back. Yep, a little bit of friendly fire. But I really wanted to get some of his rifles before they retreated. So pulling those guys back, pulling my general off to the side. And two of his units are actually coming back, so he's coming back with the vengeance. However, I'm going to have my chasseurs here to deploy and counter those guys. However, my chasseurs finally decided to rout and break. So a shame for Desprez. He's going to charge right up, and I believe my guys are ready to fire. Yep, there you go. Point blank into his guys. They should probably rout right before they even get to my line. There you go. A couple of them get in there, and I had more guys turned around just in case. But that'll be enough to wrap them up. I'm a little worried about this choke point because I can't really get too much off, especially with his rifles here who can shoot at a distance. So he's going to be getting off volleys and then retreating. I'm going to go ahead and decide to do the same. I had my old guard that I was risking. I was thinking of moving them forward, but that's actually not a good move considering I have more chasseurs coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and actually pull this entire force back to probably a safe distance. Over on this flank, Great Britain has finally wrapped up this position, and he's kind of on par with Austria. I think if they were to fight, Great Britain could probably take him just because of the advantage of Great Britain's position. Although, he's four of these Hungarian Fusiliers, and then one of these Grenzer units. So I think probably if Great Britain actually used his rifles effectively, he could probably take away the Grenzer advantage and then just keep kiting and chipping away at those guys. But there is the entirety of my force still coming in, so I move up. Actually, I decide to just deploy my National Guard, take that back. I didn't wait for my chasseurs. These guys were out of ammo, so I was using these guys as a meat shield to tank it, but he's not taking any of that. He's targeting my old guard, but they can take it. They're just going to go ahead and exchange fire on all of his men. And it's at this point I believe that I go ahead and retreat. Nope, I'm going to just put them on the side. Okay, yeah, I'm making room for my chasseur right through here. And Great Britain is going to see that I'm probably the larger threat, so he's going to keep deploying more of these skirmishers. That's probably the best way to deal with me, is going to be with those skirmishers, just because I have a lot of these beefy units who can concentrate fire. If he spreads his men out with skirmishers and tackles me at a distance, he'll probably be able to do significant amounts of damage. But what that is doing is weakening the defenses on this position. Yeah, he can still murder the first unit that gets across, but Austria definitely has a lot of men to deal with it. So we're talking in chat. I'm telling him to actually go ahead and attack through the bridge, attack through the swamp. He's saying he has a lot of guys who probably won't hold up. So I'm going to go ahead and actually send him one of my old guard units just to help comfort him, so to say. At this point, I pulled back my old guard. No, they were not massacred. I realized that with all the rifles and reinforcements, he would just be able to kite me to death. So here's the old guard unit that I pulled back. And instead I'm going to go ahead and deploy with my chasseurs. It's a little risky because they're basically down to 1 or 2 volleys. They have exhausted their ammo, and actually they have exhausted their stamina. So this is potentially a very bad position for him out here. I'm not sure why he put the Archduke over here. He's probably going to get some stray shots that might actually kill him. So if I were him, I would position him back here. My own general, yeah, you could say the same about him, but I'm not as close to the battle as this guy. Still have these 3 National Guard units. They've been tanking the entire game, so they're going to be ready to move up at a moment's notice. I can go ahead and fast forward. I told him to go ahead and deploy with his Grenzers, at least exchange, because he has the range advantage. And then he's going to be actually positioning 2 of these Hungarian Fusiliers, and these guys, yeah, you can see he's anticipating a bridge crossing. So as I said, he's going to get Great Britain's going to get the first volleys off, which are very damaging. But once he deploys, especially with the additional units, it should be enough. And my ally was kind of complaining that he was going to get massacred, so I'm going to send these old guard, almost 100% remaining, back through this side here. And I'm also sending one of my old guard across the bridge. They're going to be going there soon. So that's the nice thing about having so many National Guard on your team is actually with 3 old guard, I can send one to flank, I can send one to help my ally, and then the last one is going to be holding my center. Over here, I pull these guys back. They're getting shot at, and they're almost out of ammo. These guys are hidden, so I'm going to allow my opponent to, if he wants to take a chunk out of me, he'll get a volley in the face. Over on this front, we're getting pretty murdered, actually, by the Great Britain, just because of the quality of these soldiers and the fact that Hungarian Fusiliers are not that good, and he's getting more additional fire from the sides. The Hungarian forces here aren't even in range. He should have moved these guys up. I don't know what he's doing. And they should be formed up in wider lines, just like Great Britain is doing, to get more shots off. And that's just because of that blunder. He's going to be losing, 3 versus 1. However, the advantage he does have is in numbers, so he's going to push up through with these Fusilier here, force the entire army of Great Britain back. So here we go. They're moving across the bridge. Looks like I'm going to have some routing forces over on this flank. This is going to be my guys who stood and shot at his men. I got a couple volleys off, but in the end they were just routed. So these guys, they're sacrificial units. I'm telling them to charge. They're out of ammo, so they're going to be charging right through to his rifles. And then I'm going to go ahead and move up National Guard first, followed up by Old Guard and Polish Legion. And then on this flank, my Old Guard, who are tired, they're going to be running through to help with this flank attack so they can see what's going on. They know the urgency of the situation. Going through there. And here we go with my Old Guard hurrying up to help push Great Britain back. He's going to be reforming back here. He's sort of up against the ropes. At this point, he's going to be sending in his light foot. I'm guessing these guys are out of ammo as well. That's fine. He routed one of my forces. My own National Guard are going to stand up to this charge. Get off hopefully a volley. No, I decided to just go ahead and engage them. It's my Old Guard who are going to stand back and exchange fire with his men. That's probably a pretty good sacrifice from his end. It's going to buy time for his guys to fall back and form another fighting line, especially with my Old Guard over here. He's going to see that and pull back. But sacrificing a pretty healthy Lightfoot was maybe not the best choice. I would have sent... no, actually the rifles are better to save because they have longer range. But maybe they were also out of ammo. Anyways, my National Guard are going to be forming up in a big line. I'm going to go ahead and pull my Polish Legion behind these guys. Don't want friendly fire. And this entire new volley from my my guys here should be enough to take him out. So let's watch that. Yeah, almost a firing squad right there. Especially with my Old Guard deploying. Can't get enough of these guys. They're going to help clean that up very quickly. And you can see just the sight of my awesome Old Guard is going to force his guys back. He's going to go ahead and keep sacrificing more units just to hold me back. He really doesn't want me getting a foothold. I'm guessing these guys are also out of ammo as well. And he's going to actually send more guys back here to help out. I'm deploying the Old Guard right here. I've had enough of these British units thinking they're all that. And actually we're getting some good fire from the top. And you can see now he's spread out his forces, so that was a good move. Over here, sending more of my guys forward. Let's watch these Old Guard. Murderous fire one more time. And these guys are not going to hold up for long. Around this position, Great Britain, they're putting in a pretty good fight, I would say. So Old Guard are being pulled over to this flank. I want double Old Guard on this position just to hurry up with the wrapping up of that flank. And I see he's targeting mostly this side, so that's where I'm going to position my National Guard. Again, these guys are best positioned to tank fire like that. And I'm going to get really close, seeing as he's already shot his volleys. I'm going to get as close as possible just to maximize the efficiency of my my firing. Decimating his rifles. And again, these foot are at 140, and now they're biting it. 3 units shooting at them. Over on this side, his general is trying to rally his men, having pretty good exchanges with the Austrian player right here. Although again, wherever the Old Guard are, that's where there's going to be victory. So this line, one by one, just going to be picked off. And it's only a matter of time before this force retreats. So he's trying to do a staggered retreat. However, I have more than enough men to keep the fire up and then move the rest forward. So Old Guard right here picking off his line, and then the rest of my forces just getting closer and closer. So at this point, it's a matter of time. Great Britain is going to decide to do an uphill charge with the his foot against these Hungarian Fusiliers. If these guys get another fire... Nope, looks like he timed it pretty well, so he's going to get a bayonet charge relatively unscathed. Nope. Actually, last minute, they're getting their volleys off. But, yeah. So he's going to go ahead and go out in a noble charge. Over in this position, my National Guard are just getting right into this fight. And then last volley, scare these forces off. So overall, a very epic battle, I would say. I hope you guys enjoyed my tactics that I had earlier on in the battle over on that front where I hid most of my army, did a lot of baiting and kiting with my cavalry, and that just shows how effective those French units can be. And of course how effective ambushes can be, even if in the age of musket, where you would think it'd be very hard to pull off ambushes like that. But that's going to be it. All he has left is going to be his general staff, so I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this just so we can go ahead and take a look at the results at the end. I'm interested to see just how many kills my units got. You can see overall kills, I got 2,000. Great Britain definitely got a lot of kills as well, almost 2,000 as well, mostly against the Austrian player here. And yeah, let's look at these unit statistics. So my Chasseurs definitely getting a lot of kills. Yep, Chasseurs à Cheval, 127, 146. That's exemplary. And all of my guys going almost positive. Fusilier. Even my general got 15 kills. Nice. National Guard doing relatively well. And then my Old Guard, you know, of course, standing up for themselves as always. Hope you guys enjoyed. There'll be more of these in the near future. See ya.